Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this from. Welcome to Heart Centered Agility, where our mission is to inspire a global community of leaders to harness the power of heart centered leadership with business agility to empower their teams, transform their organization, and drive sustainable success. I am Leontino Swagwu. I am a servant leadership mentor, agile advocate, author, and kingdom change agent. Today, I have an amazing guest, Greg Mester. He is a wealth of knowledge. He is an agile coach. He is a consultant. He is an entrepreneur. He does a lot in an agile community. He's an author of a great book, and I am privileged today to have him as my guest. I am going to read his bio, and then I will bring them on the stage in a few minutes. I'm going to read a part of his bio, and then we'll go as we go into the conversation. He'll explain more about himself. So I'm going to read his bio. So Greg Mester is a transformational leader and expert who's expertly bridging the gap between complex problems, ideas, and actionable solutions alongside people and teams to achieve unprecedented success. His motto is to create more value, time, experience, and fun, which is awesome. So, Greg is an agile cheerleader, mentor, coach, keynote speaker, and entrepreneur, earning 20 plus certifications as well as bachelor's and master's degree. Greg Greg has thrived in change with 80 job changes and economic issues outside everyone's control. In 1999, Greg started his first business in 2000. Over time, he discovered agile mindset, which he used to save millions of dollars for corporate programs and doubled his own salary. And yes, to job changes in a few years. His show, the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum, was born in 2019 to create future yeses. Greg has grown 14,000 plus connections on LinkedIn and the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum to 12,000 subscribers and 14 million views on YouTube. So this is amazing. I'm absolutely really excited for the to have my guest today. So I'm going to bring my guest, Greg Mester, to the stage. Good.
Hey, thank you.
Hello.
Thanks,
Hello.
Leo.
Hello, Greg. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great.
I am absolutely excited to have you on this episode of Heart Centered Agility. So, before we get into the formal interview, please tell me about yourself. I know I didn't read all your bio,
Oh,
but
you did an awesome job, by the way.
please go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Um, Even before I started my business, I've been doing project management, program management, getting teams to work on stuff just by influence.
Hmm.
For over 30 years prior to all my agile stuff. So, been doing that. Doing my own consulting business, help some Fortune 5, the big banks, the big insurance companies in Agile. So I've had rooms where I was coaching, at a big, what they call safe in the Agile community, places with 4,000 people in it. So it's been big, small, even this small one, I got a client now is a large business, but they got a small team and I'm coaching them in that way of Agile thoughts. So part of my just process is applying common sense
Hmm.
to what they're doing, applying the agile principles to help bring that common sense to light.
Yeah,
And biggest thing is trying to get people to get experience in doing it by doing it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit
absolutely.
as part of the process and have some fun along the way. I
Yeah.
do on my show, my 5 a.m. Mester Scrum show, which
Mhm.
I try to put out every day. Now I'm doing a 60-day challenge. If you want to see what my 60-day challenge is, getting up before 5 a.m. and
Mhm.
doing a live broadcast first thing in the morning. Just showing my with that, sharing with that people who want to do this, that this is real. I'm not one of those people that stand in front of a classroom, though I do that and teach this stuff, but I want to show application, you know, real application and have some fun. We do a show Fortune Cookie Friday, do a fun Friday.
Mm-hmm.
It's all based on what can you bring fun things for the team to get closer as
Mm-hmm.
a team,
Yeah.
so it's not all what is this and what's this metric and what's this. It's like, how do you gel as a team to
Right.
produce even more?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so excited to get into this interview. And I that's how I actually met you, doing the 5 a.m. Mester Scrum. A few couple months ago, I saw this guy and I was like, oh my God, he's saying some amazing things, doing some great things. So I'd like to have him on the broadcast. So that's how I got introduced to you, and I realized then we were actually connections on LinkedIn. So that was really pretty powerful. And I just inboxed you. I said, hey, would you like to come on my broadcast? And I love how you were so approachable, and you said yes, I'd love to. So that's why we're here. So thank you so much again for being here with me today.
You're welcome. And you're going to be on my show at one point. I
Absolutely,
get you on my show and promote what you're doing too.
my pleasure, my pleasure. So this show is about heart-centered agility. And our mission is to inspire leaders so they can kind of bridge, marry heart-centered leadership with business agility to empower their teams, transform their organizations, and drive sustainable success. Because I have a passion for heart-centered leadership, leading from the heart, and also I have a passion for agility, business agility as well. So that's the kind of the purpose and the premise for this show. So my first question is, heart centered leadership requires intentionality. So, what types of daily routines or habits help you remain grounded while ensuring that your teams thrive in an agile environment?
For me, as a personal or business or
For you as
both,
a person, for you as a person.
as a person,
Correct.
I don't ask other people to do something that I haven't done myself.
I love that.
So if I am everything that I ever ask or share is something I've done, kind
Mm,
of more in the mentoring facet of it too. But I really I want them to be believable and
mhm,
trust me.
mhm.
Now sometimes it works and doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
Like getting up. I'm doing that 60-day challenge where my habit I do
Mhm,
is I get up first thing in the morning. I get to read a book. I just started a new one where I read 5 pages a day
mhm.
of something
Yes.
before I do anything else, just to get my mind growing so
Yeah.
that I'm able to absorb and help out and give feedback to
Yeah.
people who I meet with during the day. And just always asking, what am I thankful for every day? I teach my kids that. So
Yeah.
I have a book that I just write in every day. I write 10 things I'm thankful for. So every morning, so I'm in a positive attitude. So
Yes.
people always say when I go to the meetings, how are you always so positive? And I said, because I start my day in a positive note. Now, I
It's,
won't say I don't fail
mhm,
once in a while and
mhm.
someone just comes and torpedoes me. But
Absolutely.
that's how I do my personal habits. I do the positive stuff, getting up early, getting my mind in a growth mindset every day. I
Yes.
think it's important for what we do in the agile community and business,
Absolutely.
frankly.
Absolutely. So, yep, I resonate with that a lot, because myself, I do a lot of gratitude stuff in the morning as well. And as a Christian, I do prayer.
Mhm.
That's a routine of mine consistently, and also, introspection. I
Yeah.
introspect a lot in the morning, and kind of like you said, right? You don't ask people to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. You want
Right.
to introspect, make sure that that whatever is reflected outside is what's really inside of you, right? You have to have integrity between the person that you are on the inside and the person that you show to people, when you lead the teams and things. So that's really really powerful. That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. And just to add to that, I
Yes.
also do a daily reading.
that's
So
mm,
I signed up for a newsletter for my church that
Uh-huh.
they send the daily readings to me daily.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
I also, it just less than a minute or two,
Hmm.
read what it is that comes out for the daily thing, and then keep that in the back of my mind as I go through the day too.
Exactly, because it's a daily lesson. It kind of centers you on a specific topic for the day. So I like
Yeah.
that a lot. That's amazing. So you know that change is inevitable, right?
Mhm.
We work with change, you know, and we lead change. So how leaders approach change can make or break teams' resilience, right? So how can we, from your perspective as leaders, strengthen teams during times of transition? How can we do that?
Well, one in the agile, and I teach Scrum as
Hmm.
one of my agile practices,
Yeah.
in addition to just general agility.
Hmm.
Um, it's about repetition, practice. Just like
Yeah.
a football game. We got playoff games coming up, Super Bowl's coming.
Hmm.
You know, it's about repetition. You do it so much that when it happens in the big game,
Yes.
you're ready. You're already at a level. So
Mm.
if it spikes up, but if you're down here at the bottom level, you're not ready for the spike.
Mm.
But one of the things as a leader, one of the jobs as a leader, I believe, is to see the future, not to be a psychic per se, but
Right.
know when things come up.
Hmm.
Prepare the team for those cycles. There's
Yeah.
always a cycle in business. I don't care where you're from. When I worked for the government for 12 years doing the Navy Department stuff, I
Hmm.
knew when the budget cycles were. I knew when they were going to ask, what do you need funding wise? I knew when the end of the year was.
Yeah.
Prep my teams like when they would ask for money. This is how I made them many. And this is very agile in my thought process. I believe one, we always delivered products, so they always wanted to give us more money. But
Hmm.
two, it's like we always knew, and I always, as a young employee,
Hmm.
that come August, September, my boss was going to say, we need to spend the money. And you hear that in the news lately, right?
Yeah.
You got your budget, killed it. Whatever you haven't spent, we got to find a way to spend it. Otherwise, we're not getting it next year, right?
Yeah.
I knew that was an occurrence.
Hmm.
So I would ask my contractors, what would you like to do in the new year? Way before this happened. And
Mm.
how I got money is I had my list ready to go, and I had some presentations, I had some materials, and well, before anybody else. So I always got paid. My guys, my teams always got paid because as a leader, I
Hmm.
prepared them. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I don't have a list of 10 things. What am I going to do?
Right.
Right.
Hmm.
It was, we already have one. We're good. You know,
That's good.
whatever one you pick, we work. It doesn't matter. You're the customer. You choose out of these 10 things we gave you.
Hmm.
We're happy, you know? So
That's,
that's kind
yeah.
of how I, as a leader, prepare for that change.
That's
Don't make these fires because they happen every year. Christmas happens every year. The big
awesome.
sale every year. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's there. It's not any different.
Exactly.
I have one client. The first of the year is the biggest part of the year. Okay,
Hmm.
we know that. you know.
Yeah, and foresight. You said foresight is really, really, really important, and you have to be able to anticipate some changes and transitions that are coming in
Yep.
order for you to prepare your team to the best of your ability, right? Because we can't shield teams perfectly from chaos or whatever, but you know,
No.
with some foresight and some intuition, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
if you know your CEO has a monthly meeting,
yeah,
you're prepared for the monthly meeting.
exactly.
You
Yep.
don't wait to ask your team an hour before the meeting. You go, hey, we know we have the monthly meeting and we'll get you ready for it.
Hmm.
What do we got?
No.
And share with what here's the key:
Mhm. Yeah,
transparency. It's a big word in the agile world.
that's huge. I
I'm
love
very transparent. Unlike other people, I would share my presentation
it.
because I would lead it to the team. So if I'm going to present something, I make sure the team saw it.
Mm.
What am I worried about? There's too many people. Oh, they might give me feedback. Oh, feedback.
That's
That's what
bad.
we do,
Mhm.
right? You know? So
Mhm.
people aren't ready for feedback in a lot of places, but what I do is I help them see
Mhm.
that in a lot of places I go to. Oh,
Right.
wow. No one's ever shared this with us before.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like eye openers. Like, you can do that. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
what's wrong with that, right? I
I
mean,
know.
I would don't be spreading it out the world because we don't want to catch the CEO or somebody off guard,
I
right?
know, right? How dare we do that?
Oh yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna all right, so I have this question.
Yeah.
So how do you identify some early signs of stress or resistance during change, and what type of things, what actions do you do when you see in your team some early signs of stress or resistance to certain things?
A couple ways, if you're talking about people who work for you, they go quiet,
Mm,
right? And
yeah,
something's not working.
mhm,
Maybe they're thought that they're stuck. I
yes.
go find them. I used to go look for my engineers. Where are you hiding? And I
Yeah,
go talk to them. You need help? And then I would go because sometimes they're too afraid to ask. And maybe I would talk to one of the mentors or one of the senior leaders or
yeah.
somebody who knew more. Can you help, or can you part them with them, or ask a question, or I'd ask the question.
Hmm.
I would take that. Okay. I'm like, I don't know what this is, or I have this question.
Hmm.
What you do, take it away from them and shield them a little bit
Yeah,
and provide that information, you know.
absolutely.
But the other thing is emotional.
Yes.
There's emotional. I had one guy, he was very emotional and stuff, and he was lashing out on people. And I was trying to ask the man, what's going on? You
Hmm.
can tell there's something going on. You gotta de-throttle a little bit
Yeah.
when you can throttle, when you can't. I had people that would panic one time that, oh, the CIO wanted to do this and everything. I said, well, the CIO knows what we do because we
Hmm.
do it all the time.
Right. Right.
I can't believe the CIO was asking that question. He's like, yeah, we got to change everything. Wait a minute. Let me go talk to the CIO and
Hmm.
I'll ask the question. And he's like, no, I don't want it then. When you finish what you're doing, then start this. But
Exactly.
don't take forever. You know what I mean? And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with like he would go next sprint. We do sprints in agility, right?
Hmm.
And Scrum specifically. And the next sprint, next 2 weeks, we did at that group, they did a 3 week sprint. And it's like, I just want it to start next sprint, not now. I'm just letting you know now that
Hmm.
next sprint, put this in the backlog. And they were all panicking. I come back, we don't have to do it now. It's next sprint. They're like, you know, you can see the breath, right?
Right, right. So yeah, I love what you said about they go quiet. They go quiet. Some people go quiet, and some people just lash out. Right. So it's
Yeah,
like the two extremes, and you have to be able to, as a leader, I believe that we have to be able to deal with the person who's quiet, who may not have who may not be outgoing and things like that. Maybe an introvert or something, and
hmm
you have to be able to deal with the person who's a little bit more rambunctious and kind of emotional there, and it's a balancing game. And you said a word earlier, transparency, and that's when transparency comes in, where you will have to just kind of approach them and be transparent with them. Hey,
yeah,
I'm noticing things that are happening to you, that some patterns and things. How what is exactly is going on, and how can I help? That's kind of what are your thoughts about that? I know you shared a lot about before, but what are some more thoughts that you have around that?
well, I have a little trick.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily go into the personal aspect at first.
Okay.
So I don't want them to think it's about them,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about the process or the project or what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get them thinking about, well, what's not working with the project? Or
Mm-hmm.
what is with the process? Do we have too many
Right.
steps? Are we losing something? Because
Mm-hmm.
then engage them in thought process. And then I'll ask them, how do you feel about these ideas, these thoughts, these changes?
Mm-hmm.
And then I get into the feeling part.
I
Does that
love.
make sense?
Yes.
Rather than going into the personal feeling and making them think it's about them, it's their fault. I
Mm.
blame the process because we
Mm.
designed this process to help go
Mm-hmm.
better. We're
Yeah.
missing something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need to address something in the next sprint or the next cycle,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but to help identify that and make them feel better that they were heard,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Um, and things like that. That's
Yes.
that's my it's one of my little secret. I'll give you my secret trick that I don't give anybody, but I gave you that one.
I totally agree. I totally agree. Asking them, about the process kind of maybe gets them talking, because it's easier to
Mhm.
talk about the process than personal things initially, right? So I totally agree with that approach. That's awesome.
And that opens the door to getting deeper into the personal thing if you need to get there. You
Exactly.
know,
Yep.
it could be family issues, could be relationships,
Hmm.
things like that, and then you can talk to them about that.
I totally agree with that. So active listening
Mhm.
and empathy are kind of the things that that I kind of my bent, right?
Yeah.
Heart-centered leadership, compassion, dealing with emotional EQ and all of that. I believe are cornerstones of heart-centered leadership, which is
Mhm. Yeah.
what I kind of do. What actionable techniques do you use to truly understand and connect with your teams?
Well, I mentioned a little bit. We do fun things, right?
Yes.
I try to help the teams get closer together a little bit and not just be walls,
Mm-hmm.
and I do my Fun Friday on my 5 a.m. Mester Scrum show, but I also do that with my teams, my organizations. One group, they just went and did a Top Golf. I'm not an ad for Top, but it went on a golf outing thing. They all loved it. They haven't done it in years. Like, we kind of do this more often.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but try to do that, even if it's just I do one thing where we're a little group, and one group I had some coaches that we meet, and every Wednesday afternoon for
Mm-hmm.
about a half hour we would do a little fun activity, play a video game because we're
Mm-hmm.
all remote, right? Do
Yeah.
something like that just to break the ice,
Yeah.
and have some conversation.
Mhm,
We did one time where people looked around their house for something personal
mhm.
and shared something about
Mm.
it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that helps build that empathy. Now I will say,
Mhm,
in the coaching world,
mhm.
it is a little dangerous to
Okay.
have too much empathy.
Mm,
There's
I
a
love that.
balance there, right? You
Yep.
are business.
Mhm,
We are trying to help you succeed.
mhm.
I'm not going to coddle you like a 2-year-old.
Oh, for sure, for
You know
sure.
what I mean? So many people think empathy means
It's not.
I'm going to baby you.
No,
No,
not what it
empathy.
means.
I feel for you. We're going to work together
Mm,
on going through your thing. I
mhm,
am not doing the work for you,
mhm,
right? I'll help mentor you, coach you, whatever, but you still got to do the work. And so
mhm.
many people think it's the baby somebody.
No,
That's not empathy.
no,
You're
it's not.
doing a disservice to yourself,
Mhm.
and you're doing a disservice for your business, and you're doing a disservice to them. So I
Abs
don't know if we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I can go into that, how
absolutely.
my thought process is on that.
For sure, and we can actually go there,
Okay.
because I agree with you that empathy is not coddling and babysitting and baby people, right?
Yeah.
Because in the grand scheme of things, it's about driving team performance.
Hmm.
It's about driving transformation within organizations. So we can't do that if you just baby people. We want to drive performance. So I totally agree with that point. So let's go there. What are some of
Okay.
your What are your further thoughts about that?
So part of the empathy is understanding where they're coming from. Maybe a diverse background, maybe they're things that they haven't learned yet.
Yep.
And we might get a cat who just jumped up here. I have Bubbles. She's my co-host.
Oh
So
yeah.
every time I do my show, she
Hmm.
like gravitates to me. So if you see a cattail,
Hmm.
I can
Bubbles.
show here. Here's
Okay,
Bubbles.
Bubbles. There you
There's
go. Hi, Bubbles. What's up?
she's like a co-host for the show.
Hi.
Um, I think it's because it's quiet and I'm sitting in one spot and she's
Ooh.
you're not moving around. But from an empathy perspective,
Hmm.
try to see where they're coming from. Maybe their experience, what like I said, I've done 80 different jobs over my life,
Yep.
done a
Absolutely.
little bit of everything.
Hmm.
So it's about where are they coming from in their perspective.
Yes, I love.
Having empathy, let's say a product owner is like, we got to change this. Well, why do we got to change this? Why do we have this change coming down?
Hmm.
It's not on them. It's maybe somebody down the path gave them direction, and
Hmm.
maybe they're new and they don't want to get fired. You know what I mean?
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
so that's part of empathy too. Don't like lash at them, but have empathy for where they're coming from as a
Hmm.
person. Maybe it's a testing person. Maybe they do some manual testing and you want to get them to do more automation. They
Hmm.
haven't done it before. You work with them over time. It's
Hmm.
not, you can't be empathetic and instantaneously get there. You
Mhm.
use the empathy to realize the situation and
Yeah.
work with them and coach them along to
Mhm.
where they can grow past that barrier,
Exactly. I
you
totally,
know?
yep, I love that. And that's where I believe active listening comes into play as well. As these situations happen, people, do things or say things or whatever. We want to be able to listen, really, to be able to ask the right questions, maybe, and ask the right questions and get the right answers, so we can help them even more. So active listening and empathy does go hand in hand from my perspective.
Yeah, and active listening is that so many people think that they're hired as a coach or a leader. Their job is to have the answer
Mm-hmm.
instantly
Mm-hmm.
or come to the table with the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I come to the table and I coach my leaders to come to the table assuming you do not know the answer.
Mm.
You may have an idea,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but that might not be the path forward,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So if you are actively telling people, here's how you do it, you're not listening,
That's true. That's true.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
in the big thing in coaching, we talk about powerful questions.
Yes.
Give the person a chance or airspace to
Mm-hmm.
answer the question.
Yeah.
Some people think minute they'll come and give you. Other people don't. Some
Mm-hmm.
people ponder it. Use different techniques
Yes.
for the different personalities.
Absolutely.
You know.
I love that. There's so much diversity, right? So because culturally, I'm different than you are,
Mhm.
and we work with people who are culturally different than we are. So empathy and listen looks different for different people. So listening, active listening is really, really important, because what someone may be given out, you can interpret it one way, and other people it's a completely different way. So because of the diversity that is in teams, in those in our modern day society.
Yeah, and I will say there's a little cultural thing, but I want to put a caveat there.
Sure.
I with a lot of overseas, a lot of
Mhm.
people in India,
Yes.
a lot of women in the workforce, right?
Yeah.
We were working at a time because we're on the East Coast. It's a whole day's different.
Yeah.
It's scary. You can't walk in the streets as a woman in India, right? At night. It's dangerous. They would tell me all the time, Greg, we send them home. It's too dangerous. And I was really big with the company I work with.
Hmm.
Well, why don't we let them take their laptops or work remotely? And they're all worried about security and stuff. You let them into your code.
Hmm.
You trust them enough
Right. Hmm.
because I can bury, if I really wanted to, I could bury something in the code. No one would ever know. You
Yeah.
know,
Hmm.
those people are smart enough that they're adjusting your code,
Hmm.
but you don't value them enough to be able to work remotely
Hmm.
or do some kind of thing. And then COVID changed everything, right? I think it was funny because this is like pre-COVID. I'm having this
Hmm.
and they're like, "Oh, we can't do it. It's not there. It is what it is." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, post-COVID,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Everyone's working remote in India. Yeah, they
Mhm.
come to the office, but they were working remote too because they weren't allowed to get in. Or otherwise, we wouldn't have done billions of dollars worth of business
Mhm.
during that period. So I
Yeah.
always find there is challenges, and someone has to be brave enough as a leader
Yes.
to challenge someone who's like, "Oh, we can't work. Oh, we can't have moms work in our business, or they can't go take care of the kids. Why not?"
Why not? Yeah. We're all about change and
Right?
adaptability, right? And
Yeah.
adapting for sure. So, a question that's kind of related to what you just said.
Yeah.
Do we know that inclusivity is essential, right? If we want
Hmm.
to create high performing teams, and like we talked about diversity nowadays and things.
Yep.
So how do you create an environment where everybody feels valued and empowered to do the work?
Okay. This is one of the beauty things, and there's an argument
Hmm.
in Scrum. We have a thing called a daily Scrum or a daily stand up. I've been doing these. People are like, "Oh, this is no, no." I was doing it when I was working at F-18 E&F program,
Hmm.
sitting in the headquarters up there from the Navy, Department of the Navy,
Hmm.
and we would have different facets sit and talk about what was going on that day. I'm like, stand ups existed for millennia, right? They've been forever.
Hmm.
And when what I teach is that everyone gets a chance to speak. You
Mm.
have to be careful And
Mm-hmm.
I do it enough in the beginning. You can change it later, but at first, I go around to each person. They talk about what they're doing so they can all share. So they
Mm-hmm.
all feel like they have an equal say into it. Now, some people are like, oh, wasting my time. No, you got to listen to everyone,
Yeah, you have to.
right?
Yeah.
But there's another push to do it. Well, we're just going to talk about the work and what's currently there, or maybe it's the hot topic of the moment. Maybe you have your best person on that. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe your best person sucks up the whole stand up
Mm-hmm.
because they're on the top issues and no one else talks.
Right,
I'm,
right.
I'm more of a everyone gets a chance to talk. You can shape it in a way that
Mm-hmm.
your discussion, but that way everyone feels like they play an equal part.
Mm-hmm.
And I, as a coach, what I do is when people don't have much, I will come back around, not during the session in front of public. I
Mm-hmm.
come back around and do a one-on-one coaching
Mm-hmm.
and give them critique on what they share at the meeting. Like, hey, you're doing this. Why don't you share it? Because of this. Well, let's find a way to get you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't necessarily coach them in the session. I coach them outside, so it's not emotional or feel like I'm picking on anybody per se. Now I will say I will pick on some people sometimes in a
Mm-hmm.
joking, sarcastic, but you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Sarcasm can be misinterpreted. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no,
You can.
as a
Mhm.
leader, you have to be very careful in your sarcasm,
Absolutely. I
right?
totally agree. Yeah, and I like what you said about you know, coaching outside of the session, right? Because like we talked about, cultural differences and things already. That could be if you did it in the session. Some people may not mind personality, also based on their personality and their culture and things, but some people may take that really to heart and get offended. And we want to make sure that's not what we do as leaders. So I really appreciated that point that you made about coaching outside of the session to kind of figure out, give constructive criticism, and also find out more if there's more
Yeah.
underneath, the fact that they're not saying much, which I like that a lot.
And,
Mhm.
and like I said, I make mistakes. We all make mistakes,
Oh, for sure.
and someone will get offended. The
Yeah.
best bet is go find that person and
Mm.
apologize,
Yeah.
right or wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Something you didn't take something into account. It's on you. It's not them,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So I try to go find that and let them know right away
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I can.
Yeah.
Maybe you get back to back meetings, but at least later in the day, hey, in the meeting, hey, I sorry if I offended you on something like that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, let's work together to make it better. As long
Absolutely.
as you at least offer it,
Mm-hmm.
you may not be successful. They
Mm-hmm.
may be so mad at you they don't want to hear you. It's kind of
Yeah.
like relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have a
That's
relationship. We all offend each other all the time.
yeah.
But you apologize and
Yeah, apologize, you forgive, and you kind of
yep,
move forward, right? So, a question that is related that
yeah.
was not in my list here. What steps do you take to address unconscious biases within a team or an organization or your business, right?
Ah, that's been I've done so many things over that. I this is why I love Scrum.
Mm-hmm.
In Scrum, there's a thing called a sprint review
Mm-hmm.
where you share whether you did. The best way to get rid of unconscious bias is for everyone to share what they did,
Mm-hmm.
to be transparent.
Yeah, there you go.
If you put them in a corner, they'll just make the assumptions that they just do that and
Mm-hmm.
they don't do anything else. And I
Yeah.
try to bring up when they do demonstrate, even if it's not a customer presented or front item, like they didn't build the front of the website or
Mm-hmm.
they didn't sell something,
Yeah.
but they delivered something that helped speed up the process,
Mm-hmm.
or they did this back end work that's not front end, share with the team so they can all see what you're doing.
Yeah.
So my thing is by work, by deeds, as much by voice. I
Mm-hmm.
give people opportunities. I make sure everyone has an opportunity that's my job, is to make sure they all have opportunities. Whether they take it or not as a coach, they may deny, but I'll come back. I won't give up. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like a little pit bull, you know. I keep coming back nibbling at you until you give up. Okay, Greg, I'll do it. Oh, thank you. all right, you trust me, it won't hurt. You'll feel fine. You'll do good, you know.
Yeah.
But that's our job is to coach people, and that's like a sports coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the sports, they don't let you do your status quo.
Mm-hmm.
They make you push past where you think you're comfortable at,
Yeah.
you know, and
Absolutely.
that's an empathy part, right? Yeah, they have empathy for you, but they want you to. They know you can achieve more,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to try to help you get there. You may not see it,
Mm-hmm.
but our job is to make you experience it and go, "Oh, that wasn't that bad."
Absolutely. And the thing about unconscious bias um, is that most people don't know that we have unconscious bias, right?
Well,
Um, yeah,
yeah,
because part of it is, like I said, cultural upbringing, all of those things. And we may, have a bias towards a certain way of doing things that we don't really know we do,
yep,
or a certain type of personalities, and we don't really know that we do. And it's some of it is education. I
mhm,
believe we have to educate people, and also self awareness, right? Self introspection, like I talked in the beginning,
yep,
and awareness to kind of become aware that we have those biases, and once we have those biases, take some practical steps to overcome them ourselves, and
yeah.
then kind of be able to kind of teach and coach others as well.
And
Right?
I'll just give.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give. I get a couple examples. One for my business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was asked, even though I was a contractor, to interview other agile coaches, other scrum masters that were going to come in a big,
Mm-hmm.
big bank, right?
Okay.
Um, and I commented, I said, when are you going to find more women for
Mm.
me to interview?
Mm-hmm.
Because what are you going to do to me? You're going to fire me? Fine, I'll get a job tomorrow. Well, it may not be tomorrow, maybe a couple months, but I'd rather have that conversation
Mm-hmm.
and have a diverse bringing of stuff to the situation than not. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean,
Yeah.
I outright have to do that because they're male. A lot of times, male dominated. They hang out with men. They think men, blah blah. They
Mm-hmm.
worried about the women thing and offending them and all this stuff. They got all these things in their head. I'm like, no, just go do it, right? So
Yeah.
I will bring it up. Now it's their decision to go do it, but I won't hesitate to bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Plant the seed.
Yeah.
If you never plant the seed, it'll never grow,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
And then the other thing is for myself, like I had connections in Pakistan. I'm in
Mm.
the States. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'll never do business in Pakistan. Why not? I've
Mm-hmm.
done, they had a PAC 2024 for agility, and I spoke at their conference as a panel. I don't mind. Share
Mm-hmm.
thoughts all around the world so they can see me here in the States, how we operate, and I can see them, right? And I
That's
did some stuff with Nigeria. There was a group in Africa and Nigeria that were doing some agile stuff. I don't
mm-hmm.
have a problem. I mean, sure, and they can ask me a question, what's it like in the States? And I share things I've seen like in Europe and stuff like that, where the possibilities are.
Mm-hmm.
But I myself have to go there as well,
Of course. Of
you
course.
know? So
Yeah.
you may have that thing, but you just gotta do it.
You
Just say
just
yes, it's not gonna it ain't gonna hurt you.
just got to do it. People don't bite around in other corners of the world.
Yeah. Well, if they don't, they don't. I mean, that's I spoke in New Zealand and Australia too, as far as virtually goes.
Hmm.
Virtual is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can
Oh,
go anywhere instantly.
yeah. Virtual is amazing. So let's talk about communication
Hmm.
for a little bit. I know that, and we all know that, right? As leaders, that communication bridges gaps,
Yep.
right, and drives connection. So, how do you adjust your communication style to align with both the agile principles and also heart-centered leadership?
From a heart center. I learned this from one of my managers,
Hmm.
and I was the program manager and stuff. He's like, Greg, you need to put more please and thank yous in your emails,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And I'm like, you're right. So I made it a conscious thing that I put that in. And I try to teach my people to do that as well, you
Hmm.
know, just to feel more open and more grateful for them helping you. It's not like me telling you, because when
Hmm.
you do that, it's like a demand where I
Yeah.
say, please, could you do something? Or thank you for
Mhm.
taking aware of that, and I'll follow up. I'm teaching my son that right now. He's doing snow removal and he's doing little. I'm like, dude, just write little thank you cards
Mhm.
to the people you shoveled their snow to.
Mhm.
So no one cuts. Well, one business wise, no one cuts underneath you
Mhm.
because they you develop this relationship
Yes.
these people because there's other kids in the block that'll come in and do the snow. What are they? Oh, I already got a thing with Eddie, and you
Mhm.
built that relationship, which we talked about before.
Yep.
Because he has
Absolutely.
that relationship. It's not just the cheapest person on the block or the first one to get
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
right. So, but I do that where in my communications, I very conscious on my copy, my CCs, in
Yes.
my emails. I don't CC everybody on the planet just so I look better. And
Mhm.
I've given feedback back to leaders and high level leaders like, why are you inviting all these people? Why are
Mhm.
you volunteering for all these meetings when you know you're not going to show up?
Mhm.
People send those emails out just so they can feel powerful, right? And you
Mhm.
go, well, you're not looking powerful because people aren't showing up. And sooner or later, you invite all these people and they don't show up. You look bad. And then
Mhm.
no one's going to show up to your meetings. And I try to explain to them the process, right? So
Mhm.
in those communications, be careful what you're asking for,
Mhm.
right? If you say, you know, I want to throw like say Denzel Washington is going to show up at your event, and he
Mhm.
doesn't show up. You're they're gonna like, oh, you can't bring somebody, right? And the same thing if you say the CEO is going to be there and they're not there, or you think I'm going to populate the CEO's box with invites to my meetings. The person's busy.
Mhm.
If you have a specific thing that you want that person to attend to hear, be succinct in your messaging.
Exactly.
I get thousands of emails. If it's not succinct in what I want, I don't necessarily go there. Like, Greg, I need you here, right?
Mhm.
Or hey, this is something really good. I think this is something. So you have to be succinct. And when I communicate, I prep people.
Yes.
If I'm holding a meeting, I have an agenda, right?
Mhm.
I will supply the agenda to the meeting as well as email so they know what it's so they can make the decision whether or not to go or not.
Mhm.
Maybe they decide they don't need to go,
Yeah.
right?
That's.
So that's all part of that communication, prepping the person who's going to receive the communication
Mhm.
that they're there. If you put them in the CC thing, they ain't coming.
Yeah. They gotta. They gotta.
It's not important.
They gotta be
And
made felt that you need them. They're necessary, right?
yeah, and
Mhm.
sometimes just writing their name out versus a big group. Everyone has little things in their outlook. If
Mhm.
I'm part of a big group, it goes in the bottom of the kitty. It's
Mhm.
not what I look at. Why
Exactly.
didn't they see it? Well, where'd you put their name? Did you put their name in the message? No. Well, then
Mhm.
they ain't gonna listen. They're too busy. You know. And
Yeah.
you got to think about yourself too. Reflect it, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And they don't. They think everyone just thinks they would go, and I'm like, no.
Not necessarily. No. So I do. Yeah. I think that it comes down to, like you talked about, common sense in the beginning. It comes down to respect.
Yeah.
To be able to communicate well with people, and to this, and to make sure that people feel valued again. Back to that value, and that you actually care about people. You know.
Yeah, and respect their time. I'm a big thing on time. Respect. You want them to respect your time. You've got to respect their time.
Exactly. All right. So let's move on because we have only a couple more minutes left.
Okay.
So let's talk about development for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that we all know that developing our team members is essential to any type of
Mm-hmm.
work that we're doing. So, what type of strategies or approaches do you use to empower the teams to grow?
I'm always two thoughts.
Hmm.
I'm a big proponent, and people argue with me that personal development, growth, learning, new tech,
Hmm.
whatever you can do to be faster, better in the future, in a long time, should be
Hmm.
part of your backlog.
Yep.
I think it should be forefront when you do your sprint planning or your plan for whatever you're doing. It's in there. It's not an afterthought. It's not some HR thing that's hidden off to the side, that's some
Hmm.
separate managed list. No, it becomes part of the work.
Mm.
I believe it's work,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a philosophy difference. People, well, it's not building product. No, it's still work. It
Mm-hmm.
takes time, effort, thought, concern.
Yeah.
It needs to be in the backlog.
That's powerful, actually. That's really, really awesome, because I think that that's not how most people think.
Nope.
Right? Most people don't think that personal making time for personal development requires a placement in the backlog, right? To be honest with you, I never even thought about it that way, because if we don't intentionally, now that you said that, if we don't intentionally carve that space and make it a part of the work, it doesn't get done. It gets ignored.
Yep.
It comes
Yep.
as an afterthought. People just work, 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 do the job, that the technical part of things, and then just forget that aspect of it.
Yep.
Well, that's brilliant. Love it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, it's a tough thing to get over with people in the business world. It's not easy.
yeah.
What I do every time. What are we doing in new tech? What are we learning? What are we applying? What do you want to experiment with?
Hmm.
Sometimes it's I call it. Someone mentioned to me it's shiny object syndrome. Well, I'm like, let's use it. If it gets them motivated to come up with some new way to do this in half the time,
Yeah.
make it as shiny as you can make it. You know?
Make it as attractive. We want to know more.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love, love, love that piece. So let's begin to wrap up here. So let's talk about vulnerability. I'm a very transparent person, and you talked about transparency in the
Mhm.
beginning. So that vulnerability is often seen um, as a leadership weakness, right? So instead of a strength.
Mhm.
What is your perspective on that? How can we as leaders embrace more vulnerability, while still making it demonstrating courage in our leadership?
One, uh, we can admit we make mistakes,
Yeah.
but until the organization sees you working at stuff to correct that mistake or getting it better, it may not get through. That's not you're vulnerable and make mistakes, and
Hmm.
you do make mistakes, but you have to put the work in. I mean, some people don't like Elon Musk, but man, he puts the work in.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm not never fought him. I mean, it's like a tough. People say it's tough, man. He's really demanding, and it's can't do it.
Hmm.
And you have to admit to yourself, right, that I can't do this or I got to do this. I
Hmm.
think being that transparent part helps with the vulnerability,
Yes,
right?
it does.
Now, there will be times when you have to make hard decisions. No, we got to get this done, and you come down with your foot. This is it. I pay the salary, or I do that. I said I sign your paycheck, right? Um, you have to have that that leadership. I made a decision. We're going to do it. I'll take the hit if it's wrong. And being a habit is one thing they could say it, and other things to do it. A lot of people will say, "I'll take the hit," but then still blame the team.
Mm. Mm.
They say one thing and then do another, or
Hmm.
the team does something, they take credit for it.
No,
So
that's.
that all plays in that vulnerability, that
Mhm.
that courage, and there's time you met the team and hey, I got to take a week off. You know, I too much, or I got to practice more gym time to get healthy,
Mhm.
just so I can stay up and keep up with this. So I'm taking a half hour. I'm letting you know where I am. If you
Mhm.
need me, let me, right? Um,
Yep.
but you need to share that experience with them to get there.
Yeah. And I also believe that's I also believe that vulnerability, like you talked about, they're kind of connected with transparency,
Hmm.
and that helps build trust, builds trust with the team, right? Because people, when you show vulnerability, you show people that you have the same types of struggles that people have, and that you're not above anybody, right? And that
Yeah,
kind
and you share your feelings too.
Exactly. That connects you more with a team, and and laugh at yourself, right?
Yeah,
I laugh at myself all the time. I joke about myself all the times, so
yeah,
a little bit of self-deprecating things, right? Kind of allows people to connect more and develop trust as well. That's
Now,
all.
now I will say in the leader vulnerability,
Mhm.
don't do it 24/7.
No.
My life is terrible. I'm getting divorced, or my life, my kids,
No. No.
school, my dog, parents, whatever it is.
Mm,
No, be clear and succinct. Practice that communication you said.
yeah.
Bring it, don't dwell on it.
Exactly.
So they don't. They want you to be vulnerable. They don't want you dwelling on
Yeah.
it. I love you, but yeah, okay.
I love
You need
that.
something, I'll help you out, but don't be like. Don't bring it to work.
Not.
Bring it to work to a point, but keep it in a time box or whatever. Right?
Exactly, because at the end of the day, we still have to do work, right? So,
Yep.
so I totally agree with that. So let's. I have one last question as we
Okay.
wrap up here. So, what is your advice, right? I know you have a lot of leadership experience, and you have a lot of decades of coaching, decades of mentorship, entrepreneurship, and all of that. What is your advice for a new leader in the agile space, on how to become successful? What is, and for the folks that are watching us, right? What is your advice, from a senior leader perspective, on how a new leader can kind of begin to progress and succeed?
Don't think you have to know everything and that you can't ask questions.
Mm,
So
love it.
I and you should mention my book. I got my little change book.
Yes, I was gonna. We're
And
gonna
Les Brown over here, he's doing a forward.
talk about. Let's wrap up the question, and we'll talk. Well, I'll
Yeah,
have you
we'll hit
talk
that
about
one.
the question. Oh
But
yeah.
it goes to this where hire yourself a coach, you know, take a class, even though
Mhm,
you may think you know everything, take a class, find some things that other people bring to the table to help you become that leader
mm,
because you don't have to have all the answers.
no,
And if you take a class and you share, oh, hey, I'm going this, the other people in the organization feel it's okay for them to take a class. See
yeah,
that little thing about you talk about learning, how do you do it, right?
absolutely.
So you help the vulnerability as I'm learning too.
Hmm.
I want you to learn as well,
That's good.
right?
That's good.
So take a class, practice it, practice your own agility stuff. Think
Hmm.
about how you act. If you ask them to do daily stand up or not say anything, don't say anything. Like in a stand up, the leader doesn't say anything, it's the team. Mostly you can come in the end and give some information so you don't have to have 24 more meetings, right?
Yeah.
But let them do the talking. Don't dictate what it is. And from an agility standpoint, offer what you're doing. Like I said, going back, I
Hmm.
present to the team. This is what I'm presenting to the bosses. I'm presenting about you,
Hmm.
right? So present down to the team as well. They're the ones going to have to do the work. May or may get accepted, but I'd rather have 20 people backing me than no one,
Absolutely. I love it.
right?
Yeah.
So from an agile leadership, go up and down. It's not
Mm,
always up. And then
mhm.
when you get feedback down, give it down.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that they tell you can't tell them, then
Hmm.
don't tell them. But,
Hmm.
don't jeopardize your job because you were directed not to tell people something, then
Hmm.
you don't know. But you can do that and have ways of doing it. But that's from an agile leadership. Take some classes.
Hmm.
Um, give give back.
I
So
love it.
I'll give you this one real quick one.
Hmm.
My whole career, I had mentees, I had junior engineers, whatever working. Even when I was just an engineer, I had junior.
Hmm.
I'd go to a conference, right? Here's my logic. I invite you to go to a conference meeting this year so you can learn what the conference is. Next year, I want you to present something.
Mm,
Same goes to these agile leaders. Go to a conference. Next year, I want you to present something. Go to these podcasts. I do a meetup group. Go to meetup group. Share your learnings.
hmm. That's good.
Share your knowledge. Get in the habit of doing that.
That's
That's what a true leader does.
that's awesome. I
They
love.
don't keep it all to themselves. They go out and share.
No, they share. That's, I love that. I love that. I love that. So so yeah, let's share some of the great things that you are doing. Your book, your podcast, your everything else. Let's do that for
Okay.
everybody
So
to
I'll start off with this change book. Whoop,
yeah,
there's the back. Here's the front cover. It got a picture of me. Les
amazing.
Brown's in there. So I had an opportunity in this book. Kind of talks to the book.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about turning no's into yeses,
Mm.
not only for other people but for yourself.
Yeah.
For your own career development. Oh, I can't do this. I'm too busy. No, you got to say yes to yourself for a
Mm.
class or an opportunity.
I
Your
love
work's offering something. They pay you to take a class or something. Take the class. They're paying you. It's part of the job.
I love it.
You know what I mean? So in my little section, there's 20 other change agents in
Mm-hmm.
this book, which is fun. So you don't have to listen to me all the time. So there's 20 of them. And they all have different life stories and things. But mine's all about that. So I talk about getting out there, getting a coach to get you through that mindset. Like I do coaching. I do agile coaching, I do business coaching, I do mentoring. I mentor entrepreneurs. There's this one group called Founders Institute. They reach out to me. I'm a mentor to new people building their own business,
Mm-hmm.
helping them with social media marketing. Just I've done businesses I work with. I just give them thoughts and
Mm-hmm.
concepts that they can apply. I don't do it for them because I'll
Okay.
never be able to do all. They have to do it themselves. I'm also just starting, coming up soon, a coaching where I'm going to help businesses make more profit.
Okay.
So my agile thought process is eliminating waste, making things automated, make things automatic so that you're not wasting your own time as an entrepreneur or
Mm-hmm.
small business. Maybe you're making 10, maybe you're making whatever, 10 people, 2 people, 1 people when you need to. I'm really like when we're hire an assistant or
Mm-hmm.
do this or really look at what value work you're doing applies. So I
Mm-hmm.
coach people in that. And on my 5 a.m. Mester Scrum show, which I do a daily, 5 days a week, um, show on Scrum and Agile and thought process, some business stuff, how it applies in different avenues. I pretty much do it every day. Sometimes I don't, because one of the things I learned is that you can get overwhelmed. And some days you just have to say, you know what, it's just not going to happen today.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to die for me not doing it today.
Yeah.
So I learned to release that stress,
There you
but I
go.
want to get back into it and keep it at a regular pace so people can learn little pieces out of that. I keep it within 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you join my mailing list on the 5 a.m. Master Scrum website, you get access to, they notify you. I send out some newsletters, but then you also get access to my Slack channel. So I
Mm-hmm.
offer that as a service to people where it's free, because if you do the newsletter, it's a trade, right? Get my newsletter, see what I'm doing. Maybe you'll buy one of my services or hire me as a coach, and vice versa. Corporations, I do corporate coaching, and
Mm-hmm.
I do a different twist. I'm not a full-time coach, I'm a part-time coach. If
Mm-hmm.
you're a big company and you got 40 teams, because I've coached 40 teams at once before, or enterprise level coaching, yeah, you want a full-time coach. But if you have one team, you don't need a coach full-time. So I offer a part-time coaching for businesses that have 1 or 2 teams
Mm-hmm.
that just need me to help coach their leaders, coach their teams, maybe attend some ceremonies.
Okay.
I'm more than flexible. You don't have to pay me 40 hours. So, they're all like, oh, how do I keep them busy? I don't worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there where you need me and when you want me. So you can reach out for that too.
That's
I'll be sharing that more in the future. And I invite people, if you want to be on my show, I got a meetup group. You want to share, like we said, anything you're doing. You got your resume, your career. I'll help a lot of career people. I mean, I have a real discount for career helping, and
mm-hmm.
they can come on the show and share something, get some credits, help them along their career. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, that's how 5 a.m. Mester Scrum started. The person I was hired I was going to be a VP,
Mm-hmm.
agile for the company. And when I was interviewing, he says, I would like to have someone more famous,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
I go, really? I said, I know what I'm doing. And then you're going to do that. Okay, fine. I
Mm-hmm.
created 5 a.m. Mester Scrum within months. I mean, this is like pre-COVID kind of thing, just before the COVID. And I ended up getting 14 million views, 14, connections and all. I said, I think I got that now,
I'm
you
fair.
know? So it was a challenge for me. It's like, how do you get there?
You're
And
right.
I was telling someone the other day, he wanted to be a speaker, one of the people I coach. And I said, look, you got to get out there and you got to get the rapport.
Hmm.
So having that social media presence gets you to that next career level. You want to be a leader in a career. They do look to say, are you a leader in your field? I was always big on professionalism, professional engineer, professional coach, professional manager, supervisor, whatever it was at. And part of being a profession is going out there and leading, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's what I would share is like, join up with me. I'll help you get there.
Absolutely. That was amazing, Greg. Thank you so much
Well, thank
again
you.
for spending your time with us. And this was amazing. I had a great time, and I know that folks had a great time as well. So as you know, if you want to reach Greg, 5 a.m. Mester Scrum, and he's on LinkedIn, and then you can contact him for more. You know, he can really help you develop and get to where you need to be as a leader and as an agilist as well. So, as for me, you can find out everything about us at Leo's Leadership Lounge.com and also on LinkedIn. So, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this amazing interview. And also, meet us next month for another interview, for another broadcast on heart centered agility. Thank you so much for joining. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.
Thank you, Leo.
Mhm.